Well, we'll jump right in today. Welcome everyone to our marriage panel. This is pretty cool. There's not this like large crowd, so it's kind of a more of an intimate space here. So we're really grateful for all of our couples that are here, volunteering their time to be with us and to help answer any questions that we have. I'm Ryan Miller. I work here at ScenicView, and we've been super excited about this AutCon. It's fun to see how many people turned out today. I'm sure there's probably many questions that everyone has today. Once we start the panel, you can feel free just to raise your hand, and I'll call on you and ask the question, and then it could be something that one person on the panel answers, all the way to everyone may just take a turn and answer the question. If someone on the panel doesn't want to answer, you'll hear them say pass, or maybe they'll feel more comfortable talking about it after, or maybe it's a little bit off topic and they'll say, hey, we'll answer that question after. If you don't want to raise your hand to ask the question, you can text to that number your questions, and we'll get it, and we'll see, hopefully be able to get to it. Okay. So if we can just kind of quickly go down the road, and if everyone just introduce yourself, like give your name, where you're from, and how long you've been married. And Stacey, we can start with you, and then we'll go down the line here.
Stacey Stanford, this is my husband Dee. We've been together 10 years almost, married 7, going on 8. Yeah, we're from Rose Park, and can answer questions later, I guess.
I'm Chase Carson, and this is my wife Anna, and we've been together for 8 years, but been married almost 3 years.
I'm Damian Rodriguez, and this is my wife Kelly, and we've been married for 4.5 years.
And we're Shannon and Haley Ritchie, and we just moved out of Rose Park to Ogden, and we've been together 7 years and married for 2.
Okay, all right. Well, there's one thing I forgot. Anna, you like if people maybe make sure they raise their hand, if they have a question for you, that you're able to look at them when you ask the question. Okay. A little bit of hearing impaired, so she'll understand the question better if you make eye contact first. Okay. So, all right. So, first question. Who has a question for the panel? All right.
So I have heard that you guys have made it work for like longer than 6 months, longer than a year. How do you guys keep that going and not lose interest? Or is that
Do we just go down the line?
Well, if anyone
Or
has, maybe whoever has an answer,
You spoke
speak
first,
up, and then we'll see how many other people want to answer. Yeah.
Well, in our relationship, he's on the spectrum and I am not. And so for us, what was super important, and we both had marriages before this marriage that did not work out well. So for us, we have lots of very common interests, but we also have very independent interests that we do from one another. So like we have things we really like. We're both into fitness and things like that, but we're also very interested in other topics. So I can go and do my thing, he can go do his thing, and then we can meet back together. So, but I think it's very important to have those commonalities there as well. For me.
I agree with that. I was telling my grandmother the other day that I was trying to tell her all about how bugs are so cool and amazing and wonderful and beautiful. And she was like, stop showing me photos of spiders, And my grandma was like, get used to that, Like, that's fine. That's how you keep it going. That's how I deal with my husband. And, she was like, do you think I ever once wanted to hear how a plane was built? No way. Yeah.
I think that's a good point, because Dee and I are both autistic, and so we have some special interests and things that we share in common, and we have other things that he'll go down the rabbit hole and be really obsessed with, and I don't care that much. But and then there's things that I go down the rabbit hole and he doesn't care that much, but we love each other, and so we listen and we engage, but we also have like separate relationships and separate friendships too, where he has other friends that are more interested in those weird hobbies that I don't care about, and I have friends that I can talk politics and things that he doesn't care about. So I think it's a good balance.
Yeah, maybe, okay. So, let's see if I can jumpstart my brain because my brain is gone. How do you make a marriage work even? Okay, so, come on.
You got this, Anna.
Thank you. So I rely on my husband when it comes to the news and politics and all that stuff because I don't like politics at all, and so I rely on my husband on that. And he loves photography, and there's a couple of, let's see, there's a lot of things that he's interested in that I will join him with, even though I'm not particularly interested in those. And there are other things that I am really interested in that he will join me with, but is not particularly not his thing, and that's okay. As long as we make it work, it's okay. As long as I make it work, it's okay.
Yeah, I usually say like the stuff that I'm not interested in, like I'll come, but you know, I won't necessarily participate or I won't like it. So she's become very accepting of like saying, you know, I can go by myself. And so I think if your significant other is neurotypical, they just have to be very accepting that they need to be very independent.
Yeah, because I like crowds and lights and noises. I know everyone's like, no.
She goes to Disneyland with the kids, and I do my own thing.
I do that with that, the same thing. My wife loves crafts. She will do anything with crafts. If she says, Chase, Gordon, come with me to do crafts, I'm like, it's not my forte because I'm completely slow at it and can't get myself tangled up with my own yarn. And she's like, what's going on with you? I'm like, I can't even get a knot going. And I'm like, oh, Anna, come with me. Let's take some photographs and stuff. And she's like, why should I take photographs of what? I'm like, anything. So even though we have separate things we enjoy, but if you come together and learn what the other person does and appreciate what they do and take time and effort to try their thing, they will take their time to try your thing as well, and you become closer and have a stronger relationship because you're trying two things. You're trying her thing and she's trying your thing. So it's always good to see our person's point of view and do what they do, and so yeah.
Yeah, I'm of the mind that it doesn't matter what your personality is between two people. The only commonality between two people you need for a working relationship of any kind is you put the effort in for that relationship.
I think it's one thing that's neat is you're hearing people that have been, that are successfully married, and they're not saying, we enjoy 100% of the exact same things all the time, right? They're working, and those times where it doesn't line up, you just work at it and figure out how to keep things balanced. Great advice. All right, another question. So, right here.
How do you go about finding someone?
This is the mystery question we're going to save at the end.
Do you want to tell our story?
What's your name?
Stacy has a wonderful singing voice, and I used to work in a bar, and she would come down and sing karaoke, and I quickly took a special interest towards Stacy, and she avoided me for months on Facebook. The stories are different. And finally, she had a bad date one night, and she was like, all right, I'll text this guy back. And then she was stuck with me for the next 10 years.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah,
That was it.
it's just basically, I've met, Stacy isn't my first girlfriend or, well, my first wife, not my first girlfriend. But, and I've met them all in very, like, normal ways of just, some I've met on the internet and some I met in, like, through mutual friends. It's just finding someone that happens to click with you, regardless of neurotype.
To add something like that is sometimes, you know, you see movies and books and stuff, you see them say, oh, I saw this person at the store, and then we just click like that. It doesn't happen that way and stuff. Like, for example, how me and my wife met is for friends. Her friend introduced to me her, and I got introduced to Anna. And we didn't start dating, we started to become friends first. Then we could gradually become best friends and then date and get married. So the thing is, it's not where you find that person, it's just if you want to see someone that you are attracted to, be their friends before you go into dating and stuff, because that's how you can help, and that's how you know the person better. If you become friends and then gradually you could go up.
I got a question that might lead from that. Considering I have trouble going beyond the bounds of friendship, how do you do that without, you know, being that weird guy? I mean,
You just have to take the chance that you're going to
Yeah.
be that weird guy.
really?
Like, yeah, like, I know that's,
All
but
guys
you,
are weird.
like you have to let a woman know you're intense, or else she can't friend zone you or anything like
Yeah.
that. Like, if you don't put yourself out there, then she doesn't know.
Yeah, and like dropping hints, I think.
Well,
like
yeah.
dropping hints isn't the most effective. Sometimes you just have to be like, okay, I like you. Is this the thing we're gonna do or not? And that's hard, but that's kind of where you cross that line
I actually prefer
beyond
that one,
friends.
because that's a lot easier to do for me. I mean, just to say, hey, I like you, but doing the hints was...
It's
Yeah.
easier,
I don't know how to do
right?
hints without making it weird.
Yeah.
In other words, to not be afraid to make yourself look like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
Well, I've done that a lot. You just gotta do it.
But I always hit them.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
So I don't
Might be one
know.
where we have several people that might want to answer this one. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. I think this one is kind of interesting because I don't know if I'm the only one who's neurotypical on the panel or not. You are. Oh, good. There we go. Nice to meet you. No, but what I think is most important is I think it's because I have a friend at work who's like, oh my gosh, is it worth it? Like, dating is the worst thing ever. And he keeps getting pushed to the friend zone too. And he's like, I just don't think it's worth it. Like, it's too hard. I have to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. And I was like, but that's really what he thinks. He thinks in order to find somebody, because, you know, most of the time people are going to be neurotypical. And he's like, you know, I feel like I have to fake being me. And I was like, it's never going to work. Because how we met was online. He was finishing his PhD. And I was a single mom at the time, working full time and doing all those kinds of things. And we were busy people, so that's how we met. But what made it work is it sounds very unromantic, but we both had a list of things that were things that we had to have and things that were deal breakers. So for me, if there's somebody with a deal breaker, they were gone. And so that way, if we were very upfront, and he was very upfront, he asked, like, our first conversation was him asking qualifying questions to see if I could get through the gate.
Romantic.
But that's the thing is, like, but I appreciated that, and I think you'll find, if you're yourself, you'll find somebody who can fill those roles for you. And that's what we have. Like, even though we're very different, we are polar opposites in a lot of ways, but it's a good thing. It helps us stretch in ways that we wouldn't have stretched without each other. So.
Okay, so the question was, what was the question again?
How
What
did
was the
you
question?
meet?
Well, my question was, how do you like detect or feel the boundaries between becoming a friend and taking it further from being friend to something more
Well,
without being a creeper? That little bit.
can I
Yeah.
tell about the web course then?
If you want.
Okay. So my husband is terrified of heights.
I'm with you there.
And so I asked him, I told him I always want to go to a challenge course or a rope course because I think it's just the best thing for me. And so with him being scared of heights, he's willing to go on a rope course that's like more than 10 feet up. And so I really appreciated it. And I was having so much fun, and it was the best gig ever. I don't know if that was the second gig, but it was the best gig
Who's
ever.
up first?
First.
He remembers it very clearly.
I remember that pretty well. I had myself to calm myself down.
That was the worst.
Yep, it was great. Could feel my heart, but it was worth it.
And the funniest thing is, the lady was calling both of our names, and I thought his first name was Carson. Turns out that was his last name. His first name was Chase. So I kept calling him Carson the
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah,
And he told me, by the way, it's Chase, not Carson. Oh.
yeah. So to answer your question is, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith when it comes to jumping and telling that person how you feel and stuff.
So it's just like heights. You
Yeah.
gotta take a leap of faith to make sure. I hope you
Yeah.
can hit the floor.
And stuff, and sometimes, yes, and sometimes you're going to, it's a hit and miss. Sometimes you're going to miss, but when you find that person, it's going to be a wonderful hit and stuff. For the longest time, I thought my wife was not going to date me because I'm a weirdo. I'm completely weird, becomes weird and stuff. And I thought there was no way she's going to date me, because she was the smart one, the beautiful one, and here comes me, all just about bronze and weirdness.
I totally understand.
It's like, how can this beautiful, intelligent woman go after me? And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it because I know that if I don't take that risk, and then I'm going to think about what if I took that leap. So even though it's terrifying in the beginning, but sometimes, like I said, you have to take a leap of faith and see what happens.
So I think the answer to how does that not become creepy means that then you have to listen. And sometimes that's not fun. So if you do put yourself out there and she clearly says no and sets that boundary, or he or whatever, then that's painful, but that's your answer. Like he makes himself sound creepy, but I never said no, I just ignored the messages. So it wasn't like he was pushing my boundaries and crossing a line. He messaged me a couple times and I ignored a couple messages and then we connected. So I think that's where you avoid the creepy, is that if she's like, no, really, I'm not interested. Sorry, I really do want to be your friend. Like, there's nothing wrong with being friends with the girl or a guy that you're interested in. So it's valuing friendship and valuing somebody as a person and accepting that the answer might be no, but hey, it might be yes.
Gotcha.
Oh, she wants to say something, I think.
I met Shannon when I was 16 years old. We were in high school together. And initially, I did not want to go out with him.
I didn't know that.
We're all learning new things.
But, I was like, okay, because he was that kid in class, I didn't want to deal with. But that's how my 16-year-old mind worked at the time. But, his friend actually asked me out for him. And I was like, okay, why not? What could go wrong? And I guess, like they said, the rest is history. We're married. We have a baby on the way now, and so we're pretty happy just because I took that chance. Because I didn't know, me being the normal, whatever, heteronormative one. Yeah, I didn't know what autism was. I didn't know.
I was diagnosed after we started dating.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have an answer to how not to be creepy because she's my second girlfriend, and the first one was a disaster. So like I don't know.
Learn fast.
I guess, but I don't know what it changed.
All right, so we have 4 questions. So I'm going to try to keep things in order. So right here in the back, then I have one I'm going to read, and then we'll kind of come to the front and work back.
All right, my question is I'm kind of speaking from personal experience. I often get frustrated when I watch my friends who are the same age as me pair up and get married and move out of their parents' house, while I'm still stuck in my parents' house trying to get my degree and move out myself. How do you deal with watching all your friends the same age as you marry while you're still single, living with your parents, trying to gain independence yourself? Like, how do you cope with the idea of not getting married until much later in life?
Okay, so, and it's, I set goals for me before I came to ScenicView. So when I came to ScenicView and I set goals for me where I said, okay, here I am in ScenicView, here to get a job, here to make my life independent because my parents is helping me get my life together, which helped a lot. So, I told myself, now, finish this school, get a job, get an apartment, find a way to be independent, find a way to do everything on your own. And I didn't think that I would actually get married. I didn't think I would actually get in a relationship because I'm not worried about it. Because if I'm in a relationship and it doesn't work out, that's okay. If I was in a marriage and it didn't work out, that's okay. If I've never been in a relationship, if I've never been married, and anything like that, that's okay. So any situation I put myself in, I tell myself it's okay. If you figured it out and you're happy and everything like that, that's okay. It may seem like, stereotypically, it may seem like your friends or all these things are having a better life than you are, harsh to say, but to tell you the truth, as long as you're happy and you have friends and you have family, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, comparing yourself to everyone else is not going to do you any good in anything. And so you work at your own pace and you set your own goals, and what I've found out is those same people are looking at you and saying, his life is so great, why can't I be like him? We're all in the same boat. I mean, I guarantee you have friends that wish they had your life, and so just try to get better, progress as you get better for you, not compared to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That comparing your timeline to other people's doesn't necessarily go away after you get married, because we checked off the box for getting married, and then I was in a car accident and my career was completely derailed and I lost my job and I couldn't work, and suddenly I'm just at home on my couch while all my friends have careers and they're working and they're advancing. So I had the marriage, but I was still had that comparison to other people's timelines. And so I think that you have to really focus on your own timeline and then, your own goals and your own ambitions and your own happiness. And it's easier said than done, but you're never going to find happiness while looking next door.
My wife had a lot of all our friends are getting married and having a baby, and maybe she can tell you about what the thought process is, but then now that we're married, she's always like, we shouldn't have gotten married so early. And I'm like, why not? And she's like, oh, I shouldn't have gotten pregnant. It's like, well, I helped with that, so you're not blameless there, but You know, I don't know if you want to say anything, but I just think that, yeah, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, it never does. Like, you're always looking on Facebook, which is the worst place ever. It's like the cesspool of the internet.
I thought that was Reddit. I never used Facebook.
Well,
Well, you know, like, it's just, I look at my friends' lives and I'm just like, wow, when can I be in that position? But then, you know, I can't always be doing that because then it will affect my marriage. It'll affect everything else that we do. So I've just kind of learned to kind of live my life and, you know, be with my husband and just kind of enjoy what we have together right now. And, you know, it can be hard, but, you know, it's worth it, I think.
To add something to that, instead of looking at the screen of a computer or a phone or a tablet, look in the mirror. That's when you're going to find true happiness is in you. It's not in the computer. It's not in the Facebook or anything. It's all about you. And if your friends are married and have great jobs and they have degrees and everything, so be it. Who cares? If you're happy, that's more important than they are. Because I was in the same shoes. I don't have a degree. I had friends who got married before me, had children before I got married, but I found something. If I'm happy where I'm at, then that's important. And so to me, what I used to do is look in the mirror all the time in the mornings and tell myself, am I really happy? Yes, I am. Will anything change that? No. Only thing will change is myself. So it's always good just to say you're happy, then life will be great for you and wonderful. So you don't have to compare for anyone. You don't have to look at someone says, well, this person has this or this person has this. If you have the same qualities, you have a degree, you have a great job, and you're not married, that's okay. Instead, just keep going forward.
Thank you. Great advice for all of us. All right, I'm going to read the text in question here. There's two questions, but they go together. How do you find people to date? I feel like if I mask that I am untrue to myself. I feel like if I mask that, I am untrue to myself and won't find a good match because I'm just acting out a lie. But when I act true to myself, I am so quiet that I never meet anyone and never get asked on any dates.
So we've sat on several of these panels, and what we've discussed this many times. Most of the time, people don't. They keep it hidden that they have this. This is the first thing I tell people when I'm on a job interview. When I was looking for potential spouses, it's literally the first. Look, I have some quirks, and this is why. So you accept it or you don't. And if you don't, well, nice to meet you. Like, I never quite understood why you would keep it hidden. And I've actually, I've counseled other people to do that. Like, I've had other people approach me, like, because they've had problems with their bosses at work, and like they won't even tell their own boss, and they're having all these problems. And as soon as they tell their boss, hey, this is why we have a communication barrier, probably, like, it kind of helps bridge that gap. So don't keep it a secret. It's who you are, Just hiding it is not going to make it go away.
And from my perspective, I didn't marry Damien in spite of him having these quirks. I actually married him and love him because he has these quirks. And there are things that we struggle with, obviously, because anyway, we're very different, but he's my superhero. He's my Aspie superhero. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's true, because if he didn't have some of these quirks due to being on the spectrum, he wouldn't be Damien. So eventually you'll find somebody who, you're going to be annoying. No matter who you marry, they're going to find and that's for everyone. He thinks I'm annoying. It's just going to happen. But you'll be able to rejoice in each other's imperfections instead of trying to hide who you are to fit what you think somebody wants. It's just not fair, and it won't work. It won't work. We both figured that out. It won't work. So just be yourself.
So
So you figured that out the hard way? Yeah.
I did, and so did he.
Let me ask
So
how.
my marriage was different. I was married to somebody who ended up being a drug addict and a liar and all sorts of stuff. So I was like, oh, who better to marry than somebody with Asperger's? They can't lie. And I was actually working in the nonprofit sector, and so I was like, oh, I know what Asperger's is. I can do this. This guy's like, he's got a PhD and he's working in a nonprofit, and so I thought I knew what I was getting into. But I was still as myself, and I think that that's the important part. Like, I still was very honest with who I was, because I had to learn the hard way that trying to placate somebody else and changing myself was making both of us miserable. Not just me, because he's not necessarily a bad guy, my ex-husband. And you can tell him about your ex-wife, because I think you tried to be somebody you weren't too for a while, and then.
Yeah, she couldn't. Well, Sam, she thought she could deal with it, and she couldn't, and that's okay. It's that simple. Like, she's stronger, and she sees the different. You know, we work better together because we complement each other, and my ex-wife couldn't handle the quirks. That's life.
To add something like that me and my wife, when we started dating, she used to tell me, Jace, I don't want a Prince Charming. I don't want a perfect guy. I want someone who is quirky, weird, and has weaknesses. And yep, I'm your man. And stuff. But before we started dating, we talked about our weaknesses and stuff, and how we had to deal with our disabilities, because I'm autistic and she has ADHD. And so it was a challenge at first, because our disability is way different and stuff. So we had to find a way, okay, how can we get both of us to work together on this? And so we worked on it and helped each other out, and we noticed that our bond and our trust circle was getting tighter and became stronger, because we helped each other so much, and we realized that excuse me, that we can help each other out throughout our lives, and we got married, and still we have our weaknesses, but we come together and help each other out with it and stuff. So, yeah.
Another thing, I'm an introvert, he's an extrovert. He talks all day. I am quiet all day.
Guilty.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to completely change that. I won't. But there was one date, I won't mention his name, but there was one date. He was doing everything right. He was in complete interest in me, asking questions, paying for the meal and everything like that. The one thing wrong is that I wasn't showing interest. There was nothing in between us that was strong, nothing in between us that was, there was really nothing. And I told myself, do I want to continue to date with him? No. Do I want to marry him? No. Because if I did marry him, I would be the problem. Because I would be the one who wanted to continue the relationship and feel nothing. Whereas he's the one showing interest and falling in love with me. And I don't want to hurt him that way. That was the hardest truth and the harshest truth that I had to tell myself and learn from that relationship, that he's the one that's being happy, but I'm not the one being happy. And if I'm doing that, I'm not making him happy. So I have to end the relationship and continue being friends. And we're still friends today. And I dated other people before I met him. And I had to learn. And just like some people say, the first relationship isn't always like that. That was my first relationship. You have to continue with the relationship until you find the one. And that's how you learn.
I think speaking a little bit more abstractly, just where to find somebody, I think dating on the internet gets a lot of flack, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can sort through and filter and immediately look at somebody's likes and dislikes and interests, and I never needed to do the internet dating thing, but man, it would have made things so much easier when I was younger. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I think that there's some stigma against it, but especially for autistic folk, like, I say embrace the power of the internet on that one too.
There's also nothing wrong with being single and
Yes.
being comfortable being single and not wanting to go on dates or be married with people. My older brother still lives with his parents. To tie back in, he sits around watching movies and plays video games all day, and I do a lot of that too. And I realized one day, like, you don't have to be ashamed that you're watching The Fantastic Mr. Fox for the 8th time, because you're liking it, and as long as you're liking it, who cares? And my mom always used to worry that he was gay or some kind of weird thing, and she just had to accept that he wasn't interested in people. And I think some people aren't interested in people but feel the pressure to be interested in people. I have another friend who just started dating, and he was telling me that he did want to start dating, but he couldn't do that. And now he is. So he found the situation he wanted, and my brothers found the situation he wanted.
We'll go to your question.
Okay, so I think most of you already have a diagnosis of autism, and I don't. I'm here because I'm trying to find out some more about it to know whether I do. But as far as the relationship thing goes, I'm in my 50s, just getting kind of a handle on what some of the autistic, what might be my autism. I don't know how to read when a woman is, when she says, I don't want to date you, but then acts like she wants to date me. So I don't know when to take her word or whether to take the actions. And again, I'm not diagnosed. I'm like,
That's their fault.
I think that's hard for
I think
anyone,
that's their fault.
you know?
Yeah.
I think that's
that
manipulative.
Passive
You're right.
aggressiveness.
communication is complicated, and I think that women are often socialized to be really friendly and like almost like flirty, even if we're uncomfortable or even if we're not interested, because there is a little bit of fear sometimes that maybe a guy isn't going to be very nice, or maybe we've had bad experiences where a guy wasn't nice. And so it is complicated because it's not as easy as, well, always listen to what she says, because there are girls that have been socialized, but they're flirty and teasy. So trying to listen, trying to watch body language. You know, if you reach for somebody's hand and they pull away, or if you lean in and they pull away, that's a pretty clear signal. And maybe sometimes you have to be, especially when it comes to autistic communication, very direct. And are you interested in this right now? You know, and sometimes even in our marriage, it's, you know, do you want to cuddle tonight? You know, there has to be direct communication sometimes because the hints don't translate, so it's complicated. You really have to listen to words and body language and try to piece them together, as not simple as that is.
I think if those are the words coming out of your mouth, then that's what they say. Because
Yeah.
I think it's unfair to do that in any relationship, and that's not just people with Asperger's, that's anyone.
Yeah.
Say what you mean and mean what you say. And if you say, are you fine, and you say yes, then say they're fine. Like, it's not fair for them to be able to send signals. So if they say they're not interested and they still act interested, say, I'm confused, are you interested or not? If you're not, then I'm not going to pursue this because it's not worth my time.
You're
And
allowed
if you
to set a
are,
boundary.
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy, I'm interested. I think a lot of times people are very fearful of that rejection, but it's better than getting strung along.
Oh, yeah.
So just be upfront, say, you're acting this way. Is that what you mean or not?
Words are actions as well. Like, I hate that thing, actions speak louder than words. And in The Dark Knight, when he's like, it's not what you say, it's what you do, when speaking is an action, like, that just really bugs me. So I think you can kind of throw it all in one pot and treat it all equal. And what?
Not like Velociraptor going, if actions speak louder than words, and then why does why are words sharper than a sword?
Yeah, well, that's true. They have an effect, clearly.
That's stronger than the sword.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
This is in response to his question.
Oh.
I think that, and I'll admit a lack of experience in this area, but if the confusion is getting to an extreme, you have to ask yourself, is this the kind of thing I want to deal with for the rest of my life with this person?
Yeah, if you're starting right off with those communication difficulties, well, it might not be a good sign.
So, I am used to being straightforward and honest. And for me, when someone, I don't know, when someone decides to tell everyone something that I'm not, I will go to the person that spoke the women and say, hey, were you the one that said this? And they said yes. And I say, okay. And I say, okay, here's the information, here's what makes sense, because this is not me, this is me. Sort of redirect. And honestly, to be honest and straightforward is something that I think is a good thing, but make sure it matches your actions, and your actions match with your speaking. And if you're still confused, what I do is just follow your instincts and say, is this the wrong direction or is this the right direction? Just make sure you just be sure. And if you're not sure, get with someone else's intel and see if you can figure it out. Because sometimes it can be complicated. And so what I rely on is my instincts. And go, is this what I want? Or is this what I need? Or is this what I don't want?
Yeah,
Something
you'll
like that.
learn more about what partners want out of you, like after you're with partners that you messed up with, than like just asking people out, you know? So that's, I think, where you gain the experience. And I guess it's hard to break into that, but that's just kind of the truth of it.
Bless you.
Spencer, do you still have a question?
It was more of a story than anything.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Any other questions?
I have one. So how do you keep this spark going in your relationship?
Should we?
Are you trying to say something here?
Well, Spencer, I'm going to have to talk to you about this. Just kidding.
That's an ongoing concern. Like, we finally had to come to mutual agreements. Like, she made me set a reminder in my calendar, to say something nice to her or do something nice every Monday at 9 a.m. because it just doesn't even occur to me. So the spark, it sounds real bad, but it's almost for me, it's a business relationship. I love her, and she's who I chose to spend my life with, and I don't want to spend my life, and we're raising a family together. But it doesn't even occur to me that she's different and she needs the validation. She needs that for me to show that there's a spark. And so literally, we had to set ground rules. Okay, you're gonna say something nice to me at this time every week. And I have a work colleague who that's basically what her husband is Asperger's too, and she said, I write down exactly what I need for Mother's Day and for Valentine's Day, and he provides it. I tell him exactly what he has to do, and that's.
And it's that kind of goes along with what you were saying, because sometimes we're like, oh, he must not love me because he won't change to do something that's important to me, because I think we'll all be married to people who have different love languages, right? And a spark to you is something different to them. A spark to him is being a responsible adult and taking care of life and being a good parent and a responsible human. A spark for me is something quite different. So I think setting realistic expectations and not expecting anybody to change, because I don't think people change, I think people improve. And then setting reasonable ways for people to improve and then outlining it. So for me, we literally have, and I'll ask, can I hold your hand? Or today I need a hug, or something like that, because they're not instinctual for him. So at first it was kind of hard because it was almost like, oh my gosh,
it's still really hard.
difficult. That's the hardest part of our relationship.
And she's accepted that sometimes, like if I have a meeting at that time, and so I literally don't see a reminder because I'm busy, that
then I'll remind him.
then she'll have to remind me, or it's not happening that day, and she'll have accept, hey, maybe he didn't see it, and so I'm definitely not even close to 100% at providing it, even with a reminder.
Just communicate.
Yeah, I think romance is, sometimes it doesn't sound romantic, but it's putting in the effort, it's not, the spark doesn't just happen on its own. Like you have to cultivate that, and so it's planning date nights, and it's, hey, let's put our phones down and just like cuddle while we watch a show, or like, but you have to be intentional about it. I think it's not just gonna happen.
Yeah.
For us, it's like all the little things that we do for each other, like, oh, he did the dishes, or, whatever. Or, like, we make each other laugh a lot, and I think that keeps us, every day he's doing something to make me laugh, even though he's not home. He works 2 jobs, so I don't see him until his day's off. But, we just send each other little funny texts, or, we tell each other we love each other every day. It's just how we work,
I had a completely different answer. I was gonna say that, like, the proving grounds for love is kind of the adversity that you fall into, and the trouble, and then sort of showing that you want to fix it. Like, I think it would have been a complete turnoff for you if you said, "Can you do this every once in a while?" And he just said no. But even if he forgets one week, he's done it last week. He's trying. Like, that's the effort. That's like, what's a spark? I don't know. It's effort.
And that's so in a way, sacrifice yourself, to that person. Like, so for example, sometimes my wife will say, "Hey, there's this new movie out. Let's go see it." And I'm like, "What's it about?" "Oh, it's a sappy, crying movie." At the instinct, I'm like, "No, that's not what I'm going for. I like the action, explosions." And she likes the tear-eyed movies and stuff. And I'm like, so you have to sacrifice what you enjoy and sacrifice that for her, to show how much you appreciate her and willing to do what she wants to do.
Other way around.
Pretty much.
In other words, it's just not about you, it's about her,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll come home with flowers, or send her a text. I say how much I appreciate her helping me out with this, how much I love you and stuff, and just to show her how much you appreciate them. Because sometimes every day we work or we do anything, but we miss the opportunities to share each other how much we appreciate their help, because sometimes we forget that. Because sometimes I help her with her weaknesses and stuff, and she helps me with my weaknesses, and sometimes we forget that we help each other and become stronger, and we don't appreciate it and stuff. So it's willing to show how much you appreciate it through a text or going to a movie, to anything that will show them how much you appreciate it when it comes to words or a certain thing.
So when it comes to same thing. So when it comes to when I feel like he's done so much and I'm having a hard time catching up, what I do is I figure out, okay, what has he talked about all the time that he loves? And so I'll try and find like a present, or try and find what has he talked about that he needs, such as simple as like a bathroom mug, because the floor is getting moldy. And so what I will do is, okay, maybe I can make a bathroom mug, and I'm all into crafts, or maybe I can buy a Law and Order DVD set, because that is always what he talks about, and that's always what he loves. And so when I feel like, oh, okay, he's doing all of this and he's doing all of this, what can I do to show appreciation back? I can do that. And if I couldn't figure out a present, or if I couldn't figure out what to make, I can do something for him. So say one time my husband always does the dishes because he knows I hate doing the dishes. And so I'll do the dishes for once. So once he takes that long nap, I'll do the dishes, I'll take out the trash, I'll sweep the floor, just do anything that needs to be kept. And then once he wakes up, I'll say, hey, what's up? You don't have to worry about anything. You're good.
All right, well, we are out of time, but a couple thoughts real quick. One thing that I thought was really neat that every single couple up here did is there was a lot of checking in with one another. Even non-verbally, they were kind of checking in, like even, is this okay to say? Or I saw like comforting, touching, and things, just a lot of communication. I think those things are probably different now than they were in the dating years. All these years of being married, you start learning these little nuances with one another, and it was cool to see what years of being together can do, and how well you guys are communicating up here in front of everyone. The other thought that I had, that the word quirky came out a few times. What would our life be like if 98% of the population were on the spectrum, and 2% were neurotypical, right? Well, neurotypical would all of a sudden switch, right? And so then what is neurotypical now would be quirky, right? And there are definitely things that neurotypicals do that are quirky, right? A lot of the social games that we're talking about are kind of pretty quirky if you think about it. So if we can just give our panelists a big hand and